What is up, my movie fanatics? The Golden Globes have come and gone so quickly. Hope everybody enjoyed them. Hope everybody had a chance to watch them. I know I did. And while I was watching the Golden Globes, I was thinking about all the times I've been asked, what is your favorite movie genre and why? And I'm thinking about this as I'm watching the Golden Globes, and it hit me. I would have to say comedy. Comedy is my favorite genre, and I think it's because that you can incorporate comedy into anything. A few examples real quick. You can make fun of horror, the scary movies, The Haunted House. They made fun of the Paranormal Activities. I saw something on Netflix. And you can also incorporate it in other genres. So romance, you see a lot of romance stories with a guy messing up, a girl being clumsy, something along those lines. So you can incorporate it somehow in some way. And even in action, probably one of the most famous right now is Iron Man. He's really quick-witted, he's a smart aleck, and people draw to that, they laugh at that, they think it's funny, and he tells people how it is. And while, this is all running through my head, I go, well, you know what? I'm going to do my top 5 comedians, whether they be stand-up, whether they be actors, actresses. I want to do my top 5 comedians. So here we go. At number 5 is Mitch Hedberg. Now, I learned probably about 5 years ago about Mitch Hedberg, so it's still new to me, that's why he's number 5. But if anybody doesn't know who Mitch Hedberg is, he's a stand-up comedian that takes the simplest things in life and makes a joke out of them. Probably everybody that does know Mitch Hedberg, they can relate a joke about food. He loves to make food jokes about sandwiches. He has a thing for sandwiches. And you hear a lot of jokes really fast. He's very quick and he keeps you on your toes. And some of the jokes you have to actually think about, because he says them so fast and he says them so quick, it's almost impossible to keep up. So it's what makes him really interesting and really funny. And one of my favorite things he always said is, my fake plant died today because I forgot to water it. One of my favorite things he always says is, one of my favorite things he always said was, my fake plant died today because I forgot to pretend to water it. It's stuff like that that makes him really funny, and you don't see that kind of just obvious humor. He takes the most obvious things and makes it funny. And if you actually took out his cussing and swearing, you could basically have anybody listen to it. It's G-rated. It's just the swearing and the cussing is what makes it for adult humor. So if you don't know who Mitch Hedberg is, check him out on YouTube. He has millions of stand-up skits. He's done numerous stuff over the years. He's really funny. And like I said, I only got into him about 5 years ago, but it's really good stuff that people can relate to. It's really easy to understand, and it's quick, and it's just left and right fast, fun comedy. Number 4 is Chris Farley. I grew up watching Chris Farley on Saturday Night Live. You see him a lot. Him, Adam Sandler, and David Spade were like the big trio. They did a lot of skits and stuff together, and we saw him in Tommy Boy, Black Sheep, Billy Madison, and it was sad, when I was getting older and I learned that when he died, and his career was cut short because he was funny. Now, I love Chris Farley because he is very physical. His humor is loud, it's all physical. His motions, his body movement. He wasn't scared to show off. I mean, he always said he had a weight problem or a glandular problem or whatever it may be, but he wasn't scared to tell people that, and he did it to get a laugh. He took his physical appearance and made it funny, and he was very athletic in a lot of ways, and he was very quick. And one of my favorite skits by him was on Saturday Night Live with Patrick Swayze, and we all knew that Patrick Swayze was a dancer and very built and physically fit, and then we have Chris Farley, who is this shorter, chubby, just weird looking dude, and he's trying to audition to be a Chippendale, and it's absolutely hysterical. I'll leave a link in the description. It's probably one of my favorite skits of all time by him, and it really makes you laugh. And I don't know too many people that just totally hate Chris Farley. They can at least they like something about him, whether it's a famous line, a famous skit, anything. If you don't know who Chris Farley is, I highly recommend checking out Tommy Boy or Black Sheep, two awesome movies with him and David Spade. They work very well together, and they're a great comedic duo. Number three, I would consider her to be very underrated. She is also another Saturday Night Liver, and it's Molly Shannon. I always found her very funny and very physical. I loved her facial expressions, and probably my favorite thing that she does is her pratfalls. And she does them all herself. She never had a stand-in, she never did anything. She was very well known for her pratfalls, and she took them well and she did them well, and there was many times where she got hurt and sprained ankles and broke bones, and it's very cool and fun to see a physical female comedian, you know, and I think females have it hard as it is, you know, to be a comedian, and there's many hilarious females out there, but I just think that Molly Shannon can do it all. We've seen her in Superstar, we've seen her in Saturday Night Live. She works so well with Will Ferrell, and it's, you know, once again another good duo right there, and it seems like I can never get enough of her, and you'll see her pop up in a random movie, and she'll just have a quick cameo sometimes, or even have a half decent role, and you're like, oh wow, you know, you don't hear a lot about her, but when she's in there, she leaves her mark when you watch her, and you're gonna laugh, you know, and she's always been one of my favorite females. At number two is probably the most physical comedian out there today, and that is Jim Carrey. And we've seen him play it all. He's done cartoon characters, he's done superheroes, like in The Mask, and he's even done horror to prove that he can do it all, and he is that funny. And I think one thing that I love about Jim Carrey and why he's number two is because he is so good at capturing who he's playing. One of my favorite roles that he did was the Grinch. You see him really capture the Grinch and the hatred for Whoville, and he plays the Grinch like the story tells the Grinch, you know, tells about the Grinch, and that is awesome, and it really made that movie. I've read an article on him, and a lot of people say that he is very hard to be on the set with because he improvises a lot of the script. He makes it up as he goes along, and it's very hard to stay in character for some people because they can't keep up with him, and he's throwing something completely new and different, and it's making them laugh. So if you can have somebody that's just that quick-witted and that loves to improvise and just enjoys life to that fullest, and, you know, practices hours at a time. In that same article I read that he practices hours at a time his facial expressions in the mirror of his bathroom. And that which makes a good comedian today. Number one to me is, I've always looked up to him as a comedian, and we've seen him in small roles, but he's never really got into the acting scene, and that's George Carlin. George Carlin took every single no, slap on a wrist, bad move in comedy and did it in his stand-up routine. Meaning he made fun of America, he made fun of politics, he made fun of people, he didn't care, and he used every single curse word in the human dictionary, or in the American dictionary, and put it in his stand-up. He didn't bat an eye either when he did it. He told you how it was, and he, you know, some of his stand-up was very simple, and other of his stand-up was very political. So you're taking like two sides of the spectrum here in comedy, and you're putting it in one person. So he's tackling everybody. You know, he's making everybody laugh. I mean, obviously not children, because a lot of his stuff is very vulgar, and you don't want to, you know, have your 8-year-old listening to it. But overall, George Carlin really took comedy and shaped it into a new area, which a lot of people was too scared to go into with I mean, yeah, people used vulgar language and stuff before, but not the way he did it. And people tacked on more, and, you know, now we see a lot of more racial jokes and stuff because of George Carlin, because he went there and made the jokes. And, people realized, well, hey, it's true, we're going to laugh at it. So George Carlin basically stepped on glass when he did his stand-up. He didn't know what was going to come out of it. He didn't care though, and that's what made him funny. I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna tell people how it is, and I'm gonna make you laugh because you're gonna be able to relate to it, and you can relate. I don't, he did comedy for over, 40, 50 years, and there's one joke that everybody can relate to, and that to me is a comedic legend. So I want to thank you guys for joining me on another video. I hope you enjoyed this one. I also want to ask you guys, what is your favorite genre and why? Everybody looks at movies and film in a different way, so I want to know, what is your favorite genre and why? Do not forget to follow me on Twitter. Do not forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and do not forget to subscribe if you haven't. As always, everybody, happy watching and take care.